tomorrow I actually want to go for a picnic because we've had such nice weather recently and it's supposed to be really sunny tomorrow. So I've come out to harvest some potatoes. So this plant here, I think, is about to be harvested and turned into potato salad. And I thought you might like to see my potatoes being harvested since I've been growing them for such a long time. So I've got my wheelbarrow and I've got my potato plant, and then all I'm going to do is just lift the potato plant out of the pot, pop it into the wheelbarrow and give it a turn over to get all the potatoes out. So we'll see what kind of harvest I get. There you go, so there are my potatoes. I didn't get too many because I think maybe the plant wasn't quite ready, but still my handful of homegrown potatoes. So they are my potatoes and I just need to wash them. I don't think the potato plant was quite ready to be harvested, but it doesn't really matter too much. The fact that I've got some of my own potatoes to put in my potato salad is quite meaningful. I'll just have to supplement with a few smaller potatoes out of my shop bought potatoes, but yeah. So while my potatoes are cooking, I am also going to be making some coleslaw. So I'm just going to use an onion, some white cabbage, some carrots, and then I'll make the coleslaw dressing and add some herbs and things to it. But yeah, I'm going to make coleslaw, magical coleslaw. And now all I need to do is make my mayonnaise dressing. So these are my veggies, my onion, carrot and cabbage. And then I'm just going to make my mayonnaise coleslaw type dressing. So I've got egg mayonnaise, I've got some mild French mustard. English would be better, but I don't have any. I've also got some lemon juice, some Himalayan pink salt and some onion powder. So that's what I'm going to use to make my mayonnaise dressing, and hopefully it tastes delicious. So for my potato salad, I am going to be using 2 boiled eggs. I'm going to be adding some green onions, and then I'm also going to be using some mayonnaise, some garlic, some paprika. the last of my onion granules, some Himalayan pink salt, and some pepper. I've just caught the sunset in my back garden, and I just thought I would share a final view of my little garden sanctuary. And here we have a rarely spotted garden Suki. Hey, pretty girl. She's so pretty. So this is our picnic area. We're sitting under a big tree, and here is our picnic. So we've got the potato salad and the coleslaw that I made, and then over there we've got some salami and avocado sandwiches. I made some chocolate and coconut cookies and some chocolate covered strawberries. And then here we've got some quiche and some salt and vinegar crisps. And then over there we've got my husband's specialty strawberry lemonade, all handmade. And we've also got some watermelon slices. But yeah, we are going to thoroughly enjoy our picnic now. So I've just come to my altar. I wanted to kind of do something witchy this week. I haven't really done any spell work this week other than making food essentially. So I thought I would come to my altar and get my pendulums out. I thought today I would just basically tell you about pendulums. So if you use pendulums regularly in your craft, this might not be very new or interesting, but if you don't, then yeah, I thought this could be really interesting. So I only own 2 pendulums, and these are it. So they are both made of rose quartz. They were both gifts from my mother, and she got them both from I want to say it's the Green Witch of Aberdour or something in Scotland, in Edinburgh. I'll leave like a picture or something once I can remember the actual name. I'll find out from her. But yeah, she got these both from the same shop. And she gifted them to me many years ago, and they are the only 2 that I ever use, because I've never felt the need to have any others. So yeah, these are my two pendulums, and I thought I would, one, show you how to program a pendulum, and two, give you a little information about how they work, how you can use them, what you can use them for. So yeah, think of this as like a pendulum 101. Okay, so programming your pendulum. I'm going to use this one, which is the rounder of the two, simply because this is actually the one that I use least. So there is no harm in me sitting here and showing you how to program a pendulum when I'm using a pendulum that I don't actually use very often, because it could probably do with a little extra work. So yeah, so when you've got your pendulum, the first thing that you want to do realistically is to cleanse it. I've posted videos before about how to do cleanses and things, and I'll leave the link in the top. So you want to cleanse your pendulum, and then what I recommend doing is just carrying the pendulum around with you for a week or so to get your energies kind of aligned with the pendulum. Think of it as a little like tarot cards. When you first get a deck of tarot cards, you should kind of let them get used to you, so carry them in your handbag, put them next to you while you sleep, etc. And pendulums are no different, because they're a divination tool. So I recommend cleansing and then aligning your energies with your pendulum. Then once you've cleansed and you've aligned, what you then want to do is to charge the pendulum. This is a tool, so it needs to be charged with energy, essentially. I do that under a full moon. You can also do it under the sun, but be very careful because you can damage crystal under the sun. But yeah, I tend to do it under a full moon simply because that's my thing, that's my jam, but whatever you want to do is also fine. And then you want to start working with the pendulum. So to hold your pendulum, or this is how I hold a pendulum, I put the chain between my index and second finger and drape it over the index finger so that you're holding it like this. This for me just gives me the most stable position to hold it. Some people prefer to wrap them around the middle fingers and hold them like this, but I just don't like this way of holding it. I do this. So whichever way is most comfortable for you is the way that you should hold it. Now, when it comes to using your pendulum, there are multiple different ways of doing it. Each way is kind of as unique as the person who uses them, but I thought I would just give you maybe 2 or 3 kind of standard ways, standard practices for using a pendulum. Now, if you're really not used to using a pendulum, it can be easier to use a pendulum grid. I don't have one because I don't use them, and I don't have the money to buy one for the sake of a video, but I will leave some images of the kind of thing that you can get to use your pendulum. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to use this, which I've just put together myself. Now, most pendulum mats or pendulum grids will have a yes and a no, and then maybe a maybe or an unknown. Now, the way that I've set this out is just the way that I tend to program a pendulum. So backwards and forwards for me is a yes, like a nodding head, and no is a side to side, like a shaking head, which makes sense, right? And then I also use a maybe and an unknown. So if my pendulum spins clockwise, it's a maybe, and if my pendulum spins anti-clockwise, it's an unknown. So maybe the question needs to be asked differently, or perhaps I'm not meant to know. So that's the way that I use a pendulum, which is the way that I've set out my pendulum grid. So, if you have your pendulum, you've cleansed, you've aligned, and you are ready to go, what you essentially need to do now, using your grid, is to start asking your pendulum some very basic questions. I tend to work simply with my own energy, my own kind of innate, universal, intuitive energy. We're all made of energy. That's the energy that I tend to use with a pendulum. However, you can ask a deity to be present, you can ask an ancestor to be present, you can ask a spirit guide to be present, whichever way works for you. If you want to use one of those ways, then obviously you need to very politely ask whichever spirit to be present, ask them to guide you, ask them to help you. You'll also need to cast a circle if that's your jam, or to have some really good physical protections, which is too much for this video for today. But if you're using a spirit, invoke your spirit. If not, then you can just start and ask some very basic questions. So the kind of questions that I tend to ask is it raining? And you'll start to see what answer you get. And I'm getting a very subtle no. And I can confirm that where I am now, it's not currently raining, but it has forecast rain. So it may start to rain, but at the moment we're getting a very tentative no. And then what you do is you run your fingers down the chain to stabilise the pendulum, hold it, wait until you're at the centre again, and then you can ask another question. So, is it a Thursday today? And I can actually confirm it is Thursday today, the day that I'm filming, and as you can see my arm is resting on the desk to give me some stability. And that's basically what you do to start to program your pendulum. You can simply use a paper grid, or you can use no grid if you want to, but if you're not using a grid when you're programming, you will need to ask the same question multiple times in order to get a true answer, if that makes sense, to be able to make sure that when it is swinging backwards and forwards, you are getting a yes, and when it is swinging from side to side, you are getting a no. So then, when you're not using a grid, it will work in exactly the same way. Invoke your deity or your spirit if you want to, and rest your arm. I always tend to rest my arm because then I can pretty much guarantee that it's not me moving that's moving the pendulum. But get your pendulum steady and start to ask your very basic questions. So you can start to ask questions like, is it raining? Does my brother have blonde hair? And my pendulum is going from side to side, and my brother does not have blonde hair, he has very dark brown hair. So there you go, you can start to program your pendulum like that, and then once you've programmed your pendulum, you can then use that to ask more in-depth questions. So you can use a pendulum to do shadow work, you can use a pendulum to connect with an ancestor on their passing anniversary, you can use them to, like I've said, find lost objects. So simple yes or no, because that's all a pendulum can do. They can only give you yes or no questions, yes or no answers. So if you're trying to find a lost item, like me, you've lost your phone, and you know that you haven't left the house today. So you can ask the pendulum, is my mobile phone in the lounge? So I'm now getting a very distinct circle, that kind of a circle, the clockwise circle on my grid and for my pendulums is a maybe. Now, maybe, my phone is actually on charge between the lounge and the kitchen, so maybe it may be kitchen, maybe living room, if that makes sense. So yeah, your pendulum can actually help you find lost items, it can give you guidance, it can help you with shadow work, it can help you with journaling. You can use a pendulum on a day-to-day or minute-by-minute basis to help you make decisions. Should I do this? Should I do that? Etc. But yeah, that is the very, very bare basics of pendulum dowsing. And if you have any questions about pendulums, please let me know in the comments and I will answer as best I can. And if you would like more in-depth information about invoking spirits, invoking deities, I don't work with deities, so I'm a bit uneducated on that one, I would say. But if you want information about working with spirits or ancestors, basic information about working with deities, then again, let me know in the comments and I will try to make a video about it. But yeah, that's my video for today because I think I've rambled for too long. But thank you for watching.